Have you ever felt like some voice inside of you throws a tantrum when things don't go as planned in life? Perhaps someone says something that triggers you, or a string of failures and setbacks leave you questioning your capabilities. What if everything you've struggled with, your shame, your overreactions, your perfectionism, was a whisper from that forgotten voice? A small voice screaming, "Hey, listen to me!" In truth, healing doesn't begin with who you are today, but with who you left behind. Today, we will explore the profound relationship between your unconscious shadow and your wounded inner child, and how, by facing both, you can free yourself from the inner shackles that bind you. We'll dive into the psychology of Jung, understand how childhood wounds become unconscious patterns, and walk through a practical path to reintegrate the parts of yourself you've abandoned. By the end, you won't just understand your shadow. You'll know how to begin walking hand in hand with it. Carl Jung saw the shadow as the keeper of all we repress: our personality, our anger, our needs we were told were too much. In simple terms, your shadow is an amalgamation of all your repressed parts, lost contents that your psyche buried because it was incompatible with who you thought you were or who the world told you that you were. Unfortunately, most of your repression took place when you were an adolescent, when you were absorbing everything around you like a sponge, and sometimes the lessons you absorbed weren't the best for you. In every adult there lurks a child, an eternal child, Jung wrote. That child is not immature. It is the part of you that wants to so desperately develop and become whole. It is the inner source of growth, creativity, and emotional truth. Many of us repress our childlike traits because they felt unsafe to express vulnerability, spontaneity, tenderness. So instead, we built walls and learned lessons: perfectionism, control, misanthropy, and low self-worth. But those walls don't disappear. They form complexes, autonomous patterns based around unmet needs or emotional wounds. And these complexes act like haunted echoes from the past, whispering in our adult lives. That person is way more talented than me. Everyone I get close to will leave me anyway. I hate people. I can't trust anyone. Ever felt disproportionately triggered by something small? That's likely your shadow child responding, not your rational self. To heal, we must speak with the inner child, and to do that, we must first step into the shadow through complexes. Jung described complexes as repressed emotional themes that can cause constant psychological disturbances. They are built from emotional wounds, often from childhood, and shape how we interpret the world and ourselves. Complexes are tender spots in your psyche, formed by impact. Maybe your emotional needs weren't met, or you were rewarded only when you conformed and stayed quiet. Over time, you learned to suppress your anger, your sadness, even your voice. These repressed feelings become shadow contents, and because they are never fully conscious, they sneak into relationships, work, and self-talk, repeating childhood scripts long after childhood ends, again and again and again until death. Unless you flip the script. What's profound is that Jung saw these very complexes not just as wounds, but as gateways to transformation. They contain both the wound and the cure, a way out of purgatory. By examining and having awareness of your dreams, thought patterns, and projections, you can bring light to the unconscious, and in doing so, dissolve the power these complexes hold over you. Our solution lies in the journey of individuation. The process of individuation is Jung's term for the lifelong journey of becoming whole. It's not about becoming someone new, but reclaiming the parts of ourselves we abandoned. This journey usually starts with suffering and the wounding of the personality, a breakdown, a heartbreak, a depression. That's the psyche's cry. Pay attention, you're ignoring something important. The inner child becomes our guide through this process. By reconnecting and having a dialogue with our child self, we gain access to clarity, intuition, and the self before it was edited. The you that was repressed so long ago. Dreams are another integral part of the process of individuation. Within your dreams, you can find symbols or recurring patterns of the psyche that communicate what is being suppressed and what you may be running from. Individuation is one of the greatest journeys a human being can embark on. When we heed the call, something profound occurs. We stop living from our wounds and begin living from our true self, piece by piece, until we are a complete human being. So how do you actually begin to heal and integrate your inner child? Here are 3 timeless practices inspired by Jung's own methods. First, a shadow dialogue exercise. Everything begins with awareness, and this exercise helps you decode emotional triggers in your waking life. Think of a recent moment where you overreacted or were triggered. Ask, why did this moment bother me so much? What part specifically triggered me? What trait do they represent that I may be disowning? Dialogue with this part of yourself as if it's a child. What does it need? What does it want? Focus on what your inner child wants, not what the world says is right or what logically makes sense. Be curious, not judgmental. The shadow speaks in emotion, not logic. This experience is unique to the individual, so take your time and be gentle with yourself. Next, inner child visualization and reparenting. This technique helps you to understand your inner child better and rewrite the script that you've lived all your life. Close your eyes and relax your body. Visualize a painful childhood moment. Make it real. Now, as your adult self, step into the memory. What would you say to your younger self? What love and compassion would you give them? Offer them comfort, validation, and protection symbolically. Perhaps a favorite toy of yours, or simply a hug. There is no right way to do this. Trust your heart. Return to this inner relationship often. Trust and healing builds with time. In the same way, a loving parent shows up for their child. Show up for your inner child. Lastly, dream analysis for integration. In this technique, we turn to the dream realm for answers. Keep a dream journal, especially note recurring child figures or emotionally intense symbols, anything that feels impactful or memorable to you. Ask, what part of me might these symbols represent? How could they mirror something I've repressed or carry a wound around? Work with these hints. Over time, you will find patterns. Then, as you gain clues into potential shadow content, integrate repressed parts and take action in your life to embody these parts that had been lost for so long. Rewrite the script. Understand that these practices won't fix you overnight. But over time, they create space for the parts of you that were never allowed to exist. You slowly shine more light on the dark shadows that your psyche repressed. And in that space, healing begins. What emerges is a story for you to write, my friend. Carl Jung didn't offer easy answers. He offered something deeper, a map to the soul. but only you can walk the path. Healing the inner child isn't about indulging your past. It's about freeing your future from unconscious repetition, outdated scripts. You are not broken. Parts of you are waiting to be reclaimed, and every wound you carry is an invitation to become whole. So if you've felt trapped by emotions you can't explain, if you've sensed that part of you never grew up, this is the call. Not to change who you are, but to remember who you were before the world told you to be someone else. Thank you for walking this journey with me today. If this video sparked something in you, share it in the comments and consider subscribing for more explorations into the depths of your psyche and self-healing. Until next time.